Today marks yet another weekly reset in Destiny 2, and that means there's a new Nightfall available to play and a new piece of super rare Nightfall exclusive loot available to earn. In this video, we're going to take a look at that loot piece so you can determine whether or not it's worth grinding for, and then we're going to present a guide for grinding this week's Nightfall so that you can earn that piece of loot if you desire. And so, let's get started. What is up, guys? Rekkakus here. Now, usually this is the part where I say that we've been grinding for hours and then finally we've gotten this loot piece, but thanks to my crew that's been running with me, Ravenwind and System Glitch from DOD Westside, we got lucky for once and got it first try. We ran a couple more times so we could get the strategy right for the guide, but yep, first try. And elephant in the room. This week's Nightfall exclusive loot piece is an exotic Sparrow. So right there, I know for a lot of people, certainly for me, that's disappointing. Last week was a high for Nightfall exclusive loot. It was the DFA hand cannon, a fantastic weapon. Already you're seeing it a ton in PvP, and now we're going to an exotic Sparrow. And I really hope that at the end of the day, Bungie looks at the engagement and looks at the comments of these type of videos and all that stuff and realizes that people want weapons as Nightfall loot, not exotic cosmetic items. But I digress. I'm sure there is still some people out there who want to get this Sparrow. Certainly it's going to be something that you have that a lot of other people don't. So let's take a look at it. It certainly looks actually pretty darn sweet. Now, in terms of abilities, nothing absolutely insane, like pretty much what you're going to find on other Sparrows. And the big question, does it have a unique trail? Really disappointingly, no it doesn't. As you can see, it basically has the bare bones, normal, nothing special trail. Good thing this Sparrow looks pretty cool, because otherwise you probably wouldn't know it was exotic, because every other exotic Sparrow has crazy trails, like explosions, smoke, glowing stuff. I mean, the ones from Crimson Days have flower petals, and this has absolutely nothing. So definitely disappointing there, but again, if you want it, let's move on to the Nightfall guide. The strike being featured for this week's Nightfall is the Arms Dealer, and that means there's a lot of Cabal, mostly Cabal, and quite a lot of Fallen as well. Therefore, you should not pick Arc as a Singe. Definitely don't even consider Arc. There's so many enemies utilizing Arc attacks towards you that even though you're going to get a bonus, you're going to be hit for 25% bonus damage pretty much by every single enemy you are facing. So that really leaves Void and Solar. Now the first time we did this with Solar, and we did beat it, and we got over 80,000 points. So that's definitely what you're aiming for, because you have these thresholds that Bungie has confirmed this is the case, that the higher you get in points, you're going to have different thresholds that give you a better chance for getting the Nightfall exclusive loot piece. So at 40,000 it might be 5%, 60,000 6 or 7%, 80,000, 10%. These are arbitrary numbers. Bungie hasn't released the official numbers, but it's structured something like that. It could be 0.1% of a difference, but we do know that there is a difference. So, back to the Singe, I would recommend Void. We did it again on Solar, and the fact of the matter is that there still is quite a lot of Scions, and the boss at the end, his sniper rifle, is Solar. So that can cause some definite problems. Void, you will have some Centurions with some Void weapons, but that is about it. Void is definitely going to be you having the benefit of dealing extra damage and taking almost no damage during the strike. Now in terms of the difficulty modifier, we went with the standard straight 7 to get a 2 times points bonus, and again we were landing consistently above 80,000, which is the final threshold for the emblem, so likely the final threshold for getting an increased chance to get the loot piece as well. As for my loadout, I feel bad because this is the same loadout I've been using for a while now. Because Void is such an attractive Singe to use, not too many enemies use it against you, but I'm using the Voidwalker Warlock in the Devourer tree. I've got the Purpose Kinetic Scout Rifle as my kind of long range weapon, but it functions very well in medium ranges as well. And for my energy weapon, I'm still running an auto rifle. They're just so good all around. Yes, you could run something like even a burst fire sidearm would potentially have more DPS, but it's only good in those close ranges. An auto rifle, especially a precision auto rifle like this Positive Outlook, is just going to be able to deal with enemies at longer ranges, medium ranges, and close ranges, and get that 25% bonus for being, of course, void. As for my heavy, still running a rocket as well. Ended up juggling between the sins of the past and then the curtain call, but essentially having a rocket with cluster bombs is great against the boss, but most importantly, it's great against groups of enemies. You can consider running something like a shotgun, like the Perfect Paradox. The DPS output is phenomenal. Shotgun's got a 35% damage increase in the Go Faster update, but there's just so many scenarios where you put yourself in danger for being that close range, and they're not that great at taking down those groups of enemies that you find so often in the strike. So I do believe that rockets are the superior option in the power slot. Now, moving on from there, let's get into the actual Nightfall. The first really big engagement is this open area here, and here you really want to watch out for the snipers. There's going to be several vandals that spawn over to the left side near the edge of the cliff essentially, and you definitely want to take those guys out with your scout, with your auto, whatever you can use, before you deal with the big guys. You generally have to kind of move out of cover and move into positions that you can be sniped by those vandals to engage the other enemies, so it's best to just focus on the snipers first, take those guys out, and then engage the larger groups of enemies. Now, I would also recommend, especially in this part, don't be afraid to be slinging those rockets, because there's a lot of orange health enemies, and that means that you're very likely to get your power ammo back. If you try to engage all of these enemies with your kinetic and your energy, it's just going to take a long time, and the fact of the matter is that because this engagement is so open and because there is such a large number of enemies, if you try to slowly take them out one by one, you're going to be shot at by multiple enemies at different angles at the same time. So getting a rocket and getting like 3 or 4 enemies at once is hugely beneficial. Now, moving on from this engagement, once you're done, you should have a supercharged, and you definitely want to save it until not too long after, when you're going to see this area here, and you're going to see a ton of enemies spawning out of the same door. There's 2 elite servitors, and goodness knows how many other adds. A well-placed Nova Bomb just tanks all of those guys, and the amount of power ammo they drop is also redonkulous. But don't forget, there's also a bunch of Cabal that spawn at the end of this platform as well, and those guys are just as easily taken out with a super. So generally, you want to maybe use your power ammo for the previous engagement, and then this one, because enemies are just so clumped up, it's a great time to use supers. Speaking of supers, as always, I would highly recommend that you run with at least one Night Stalker Hunter with Orpheus rigs. He's going to be able to tether just a ton of enemies, produce a ton of orbs, that's going to get you a ton of points, and it's going to get you your super back almost always. And you'll see that in the background. There's a lot of sections where the tether goes out and you're able to get your super back almost instantaneously, or at least substantially progress your super towards using it again. Now, moving on from there, you're going to have the option to use your Sparrow, and you can go all the way around to the right hand side and kill all of the Cabal you find. That's certainly going to get you more points, but it's a little unnecessary. The best method is to actually go past those guys, get up the ramp and actually get some cover, and then turn around and engage those enemies if you want to. You can also skip them. Moving on from there, we have this huge room with 2 different tanks, and you definitely want to take out both of them. Especially back in the previous iteration of the Nightfall, when it was based on timing, you would often skip a lot of the enemies in this room, but you're just missing out on so many points, and you can definitely have a better chance of dying if you leave enemies alive. So definitely take out the sniper shanks first, then take out the bottom tank, then move to the upper levels, take down the adds around there, activate that second tank to come down. Pretty easy to take that thing out, and honestly, just with rockets, you can just destroy that thing. But importantly, make sure you kill all of the other adds and the tank while leaving the Cabal mini-boss that's also on top where that second tank spawns alive. Killing him will progress to the next area, and it's very easy once you've killed everything else to just focus fire him down with energies or whatever. He's gonna die, and then the door is gonna open and a bunch of war beasts are going to spill out. Now, you can actually see right here, if you do have a Night Stalker Hunter with Orpheus, he can tether and keep tethering and produce a pretty ridiculous amount of orbs. I kind of turned this off, but you could potentially keep going, and I don't want to say infinite orbs, but certainly you can get a lot of points for doing this. Moving on from there, we have the second last room, and something very important that still I see some people don't know is that even though the boss is here and you can shoot the boss and damage numbers will appear, he won't actually take any damage. Once he goes back to the final room, he will be back at 100% health. So there's no reason to shoot any rounds, no reason to waste any ammunition on the boss. So simply make your way forward, killing all other enemies aside from the boss, and then you're going to have the opportunity to activate the final lift that's going to bring you up to the final boss encounter. Now, I think the best strategy for this boss encounter is to get as much damage on him as absolutely possible. Now, depending on what weapons you're using, it is theoretically possible to just kill him outright. Although this is going to severely limit the amount of points you can get, it is undoubtedly going to make this engagement a lot easier. It's really up to you. However, no matter what you're using, you do want to again get as much damage on him as possible, because if you do, he's going to skip one of his phases. Normally, when you damage him a certain amount, he's going to hop up to one of the towers on the right or left side, and then you have to go and get an orb and slam on the appropriate side. He's going to hop down, you damage him again, he hops up to the other tower. But if you do enough damage to him at the beginning, he's just going to skip that first tower, hop to the second tower, and then right back down after you slam the orb on the appropriate spot. So you basically skip out on a very long-lasting, kind of tedious wave of adds that can definitely get you killed. So again, damage the crap out of him with heavy, I should say power, and supers and whatever else you got to make him avoid one of those phases, and frankly, potentially kill him outright. I do think, even though you might not get to that last 80,000 tier, if you do kill him outright, it is just going to make things so much easier, and you're likely going to have to run this multiple times. That I do think that is the best approach still. Now, this fight can definitely be a tough one. A couple of tips: sometimes it's best to not focus on the boss. Not at the beginning, but certainly when there's other adds around. You know, you can get distracted by trying to just kill that boss, get him as low as possible, but then there's just such an overwhelming force of adds from all over this arena, and you're getting shot at by multiple areas, multiple directions. It's just best sometimes to back off the boss, kill a bunch of the Cabal, and then once they are finally gone, you know, they don't constantly spawn, so you can alleviate the pressure of this engagement by changing focus to the adds, killing those guys, and then when there's way less adds, refocusing on the boss. Another tip, guys, kill the ships. Seriously, take your time to kill the Cabal ships. The first one, if you don't do enough damage to him, there's going to be one ship that spawns in, and then once you activate the first slam, it'll leave and the second ship will spawn in. That second ship will stay for the entire fight. Especially that second ship, just kill it. A lot of people try to ignore this, but it's at an angle, it's up above in the air, and you can't, it's really hard to avoid it. It's really hard to avoid the ship and also avoid the rest of the adds. So it's by far the best approach to just shoot a rocket or two at that thing, take it down, and then you don't have to worry about it. In any event, guys, that is it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. Now, if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.